Kia ora e hoa, haere mai, come and join me. You know how sometimes the books that I find are all about using your imagination? Well, this story is based on a true story. It's Pelorus Jack, the Dolphin Guide. It was written by Susan Brocker and illustrated by Raymond McGrath. Are you nice and comfy? Ready for a story? The story of Pelorus Jack? Well, let's begin. The moon-white dolphin glided through the glittering sea. The emerald green waters and endless bays were strange and new to him. His kind rarely visited New Zealand shores. He was a Rizo's dolphin, large and white with a square head and blunt nose. But he didn't know or care what he was. He only wanted to find others like himself. So he kept on swimming and searching the sheltered coves and rocky inlets. Can you see him? Leaping out of the water? Beautiful, isn't he? The dolphin explored a winding stretch of coastline called the Marlborough Sounds. He dived deep beneath the sunken valleys, joining schools of hāpuku as they cruised the sea. Sometimes he prodded the big fish, hoping they'd play, but they only scuttled away. Once he found a spiny crayfish hiding beneath a rock. He tried to tempt it out by nudging it with his nose. It only shook its long antennae at him angrily. No. One morning, the dolphin felt the pulse and vibration of a huge creature moving through the sea. Excited, he dashed off to investigate. A large, dark shape loomed above him. As the ship surged through the water, it created great rolling waves. The dolphin couldn't resist. He rushed to the bow and hitched a ride on the waves like a sleek surfer. He then rubbed his itchy back against the ship's hull, remembering his mother's touch. Look at all the bubbles that are being formed. Big waves for the dolphin to surf. A crew member on board the ship spotted the ghostly dolphin surfing the bow. "Look, a huge white fish," he hollered. "Quick, grab the gun." The captain's wife laid her hand on the young man's shoulder. "It's doing us no harm," she said. "Leave it be." "Yes, ma'am." They watched as the dolphin streaked ahead through the plunging waves, as if cutting a pathway for the ship. "It's guiding us," the young man cried. From that day on, the dolphin joined the ships as they passed through the Marlborough Sounds. He leapt joyfully through the waves, playfully ducking and diving beneath the bows. Passengers and crew loved watching his antics. They'd wait eagerly for him to appear. But he wouldn't greet just any ship. He snubbed wooden-bottomed boats or sailing ships, picking the faster, steel-hulled steamers. They made the best bow waves for him to ride. "Here he comes!" the cry would go up as the dolphin darted through the sea. He made straight for the steamer, twisting and twirling beneath the bow. He leapt high from the water, flopping back with a thundering splash. The passengers crowded on deck. Many hung over the rails to see him, some taking photos. "It looks like a big white shark," a bespectacled man said excitedly. A little girl standing next to him laughed into the wind. "No, he's a dolphin. My people say he's Tuhirangi, the taniwha who guided Kupe here from our ancestral homeland." The man doffed his hat to the girl and introduced himself as Rudyard Kipling. "Who is Kupe?" he asked. Kupe was a great navigator who discovered Aotearoa, guided by the Taniwha. "I thought Taniwha were terrifying monsters." "They're not all scary," the little girl Hannah shook her curls. "Some are protectors and guides." "So your people believe this dolphin is guiding us?" "Every single day, he leads the steamers through the rough waters of these sounds as they head to and from French Pass." Wow, every day he's guiding the steamers. "Where does he come from?" Rudyard asked Hannah. "Some say he's an orphan that lives in a cave at the entrance to the sound waiting for the ships." "It sounds like a fishy tale to me," Rudyard said, laughing at his own joke. "Dolphins aren't fish, they're mammals like us," Hannah replied smartly. "And I think he's just lonely and looking for friends to play with." "Well, I've seen all sorts of animals on my travels. Bears, tigers, elephants, and wolves," Rudyard Kipling said. "But never anything as magical as a white dolphin. I'm glad he came to play with us." Every time Hannah made the crossing to visit her tipuna, she saw the dolphin. Sailors nicknamed him Pelorus Jack because he usually met them at the entrance to Pelorus Sound, and Jack is an old sea shanty name. Even on overnight voyages, Pelorus Jack greeted the steamers. Passengers would even leave their warm bunks in the middle of the night to see him. He swam alongside in a shimmer of phosphorescent light, like a silver sword slashing through the sea. Wow, isn't he beautiful? A silver sword slashing through the sea. It's a lovely sentence to say too. Word soon spread about the friendly dolphin. People came from all over the world to see him, even royalty. On one trip, a royal couple from a distant land watched him frolic. He leapt from the waves and slapped his tail hard upon the water, splashing everybody on deck. The royals were soaked to the skin. Nobody had told Jack they were VIPs. He loved to have fun by the looks of it. On a chill winter's day, Pelorus Jack scooted off to guide a passing steamer as usual. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out from the deck. A bullet whizzed through the water. Jack ducked, diving to safety. The crew wrestled a lone gunman to the deck. Passengers cheered when Pelorus Jack leapt from the waves to do a backflip, as if calling, "I'm fine." Oh dear, can you imagine that? Somebody trying to shoot Pelorus Jack? I wonder why he'd do that. Pelorus Jack knew every ship by the different sound of their engines, like a ship's fingerprint. He never forgot the steamer from which he'd been shot. Whenever it chugged into the sounds, he'd whip to the seabed to hide among the swaying kelp forests. Some say the steamer met a sticky or salty end after Jack refused to guide it ever again. Poor old Jack. That must have given him a big fright, especially when everyone else had been so nice to him. After the shooting, concerned people gathered outside Parliament in Wellington. They demanded protection for Pelorus Jack. The outcry led to an order in council under the Sea Fisheries Act. It's believed Pelorus Jack became the first sea creature ever protected by law in any country. How special. I'm so glad they did it. Once the law passed, Pelorus Jack became even more famous. His story appeared in newspapers and magazines worldwide. Even postcards featured him. People made the trip across the Cook Strait just to see this celebrated dolphin. "Here comes our first mate on duty," the captain called. The passengers dashed on deck. Pelorus Jack popped up at the bow, rolling over on his side to gaze at them. "Look, he's smiling at us," they said. He blew bubbles and whistled and clicked. "Listen, he's talking to us." Many years rolled by before a young woman named Hannah once again boarded the ferry for Nelson. She remembered fondly her trips as a little girl, always seeing her dolphin friend playing at the bow. She hoped she would see him once again. When the ferry reached Marlborough Sound, she leant over the rails, eagerly looking out to sea. But no familiar moon-white shape shot through the water to greet her. And that's the end of the story. The story of Pelorus Jack. What a very special dolphin. He truly was the dolphin guide, wasn't he? And I'm so glad a special law was passed so that he could remain protected. Animals can be very special friends, can't they? And Pelorus Jack definitely was one. If you'd like to find out more about this book, written by Susan Brocker and illustrated by Raymond McGrath, visit scholastic.co.nz. And if you want another very cool story, one written by a New Zealand author with a New Zealand illustrator, come and visit me again soon. I have lots of books to read. Ka kite. See you soon.